Okay, so we're gonna start. My name is Jose Felico. I'm the Vice President for the Wall Heights Neighborhood Council. So welcome to the town hall that the Neighborhood Council has put together to go ahead and bring Verizon to the table regarding the community garden that is on the Casa de Mexicano. So that's who I am, Wendy.
My name is Wendy Castro. I am a community member and I'm also on the Neighborhood Council, but I'm going to serve as the moderator for today. I have experience in restorative justice and being neutral in conversations that sometimes are really high in emotions or there's two different parties and two different beliefs. So they asked me if I could help moderate the conversation to make sure that both sides are heard.
I'm Peter Hagan. I'm the chair of the Transportation Environment Committee with the Neighborhood Council. I was involved in setting up this meeting as well, and just here as another representative from the Neighborhood Council.
Ready? Yeah. All right. Well, good morning. My name is Andres. I'm with Verizon Wireless. I want to introduce the rest of the team. We have Daisy with Verizon as well. We have Simon with Verizon. We have Randall with Verizon as well. So we're all with Verizon here. Thank you so much for making time. Thank you so much for the councilors for allowing us to come and really spend the time talking about the projects. I know there are a lot of questions about the projects, but I kind of want to go through it. We're going to break this thing apart into, we'll go through kind of where the project is right now, kind of where we need to take the project to, and then we'll have plenty of time to talk about questions that you may have about the RF safety, the RF emissions. We actually, there's an actual expert, he's in the back, his name is Bill. We'd be better to have a third-party expert answer all your questions than having Verizon answer the questions. So we have an expert, he'll have time to answer all your questions as well and kind of talk to as well. So that's kind of the thought behind it. So let me go ahead and start and kind of talk about what this looks like and kind of what you're seeing. And just to walk you through what we have here is we have a couple of renditions up here on the right-hand side. These are boards of what the site is going to look like with the community garden intact. And we'll talk about that as to how Verizon has been working to make sure the community garden remains and is not demolished as it was originally planned to be. So let's talk through that first. So as I mentioned, we'll talk about the enhancements to the garden that we're talking about doing. We'll talk about the RF emissions, the health, the RF safety that everyone has questions. We also talked a bit of, we're going to talk about, we're going to leave about 10 minutes to talk about the construction, to have a discussion about the construction of the site as well. So let's talk through it. This is a bit of a reading chart, but let me walk you through it. This talks about the timeline of kind of where we've been. This project, this Verizon Wireless project has been in the works since 2014, 2015. It's gone through all the City of Los Angeles process. It's gone through the Neighborhood Council process well back through early in 2017. And in 2017, the project was approved by the City of Los Angeles. So it's gone through the entire process. In 2019, we received a building permit to be able to start construction of the project. That's kind of the timeline of where we are with the project itself. And the whole process itself really talks about the design as it stands right now, which is really the removal of the community garden. But I want to go beyond that so we can talk about kind of what Verizon is proposing to do as we're trying to move forward with this project. So as we know, and this is from Google Maps, so it's kind of if you go to Google Maps, you can actually see the picture. This is kind of the way that the property is laid out, just to make sure we have a kind of a big picture of what this looks like. We have the parking lot right here, we have the Casa Mexicano right here, and then this is the lot where the community garden is at. Does that make sense? As everyone comes, we want to make sure that it kind of all makes sense from a perspective, so we're talking about that. Now, this is the original design. This is the design that was approved by the City of Los Angeles in 2017. Right? I also, in this map, I showed that same lot. You see the same red rectangle that shows, as approved currently by the City of Los Angeles, which shows the community garden going away and the parking lot being built in its place. That's as it's permitted right now. Right? So, to talk about our proposed design, which is something we're working on since really late 2019, September 2019, when we start having discussions about representing this community garden, leaving the community garden intact. That's what the whole concept about it. Can we find a way to leave the community gardens intact and coexist with the tower and the garden itself? So, as a result of that, we talked to ELAC, which ELAC is the landlord of the property, right? Everyone else, ELAC owns this property. Talked to them, but we're not really talking, changing directions, talking about the council help us facilitate this meeting that's happening today. So we really want trying to get this meeting going to really talk about the specifics
Filter
of
those
the
questions over to Verizon. Peter, you have the last
so I want to make a quick comment. Improvements, and I want to point you to like zoom in here. Right, this is the concept that show some improvements that we want to make to the garden as well. Is be entirely up to the gardeners to allow us to make those improvements. That is adding more garden beds, adding a pergola. That's what we're worried about. Adding some trellises, adding some workbenches, some picnic tables. Really also adding power, adding irrigation, having hose beams to get to be able to water garden as well. So it's going to cost some time. So there's a number of improvements to do it. And of course, we all working around.
Okay, thank you.
I urge you on behalf of my family and community,
Yeah, it's right now on, if you know you're from Boyle Heights, when? It's right there live. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wait, where's that lady? Man, you know what? There's these people on right now on live making all these comments like, you know what? It's not a big deal. Here, let me interview you real quick because I want to call them out. There's these community members that we just need to have more dialogue with. So right here, come here, guys, come here. I just want to choose real quick. There's a lot of people right now on this. You know, you're from Boyle Heights, right? And they're putting all of these, and there are a lot of not mature kids. Let's skip those. Let's go straight for the adults who are literally putting on this site right now. Copy, paste, links, backing up 5G technology, and just being skeptical and kind of rude, right? So this is going to affect your family, your kids, right? So address those people right now, the ones right now, the keyboard warriors. Where got Art Gamboa, step up right now.
So it looks like we have also some this is kind of a mock-up of what it would look like.
I have.
3 people have died, not sick, okay? These people are bringing more sickness to our community, and they don't care. You guys may not care because you want the technology to be faster, but through the years, we're going to suffer. 10, 20 years from now, you guys are going to have cancer, your kids are going to have cancer. So you guys need to realize this. We can't have this right here. We don't want them here. And I'm really sad that you guys are thinking that way, but we need these people out of here. We don't want them in our community.
Aquí estamos en vivo, and you know you're from Boyle Heights. It has 36,000 followers. En español, ahora en español.
Él está hablando de que hay necesidad para ellos, para el capitalismo, para el dinero, no para la comunidad. Nosotros no necesitamos eso, necesitamos aire, necesitamos áreas verdes. Nosotros somos de la comunidad, nosotros vivimos aquí, ellos no viven aquí y no van a imponer porque los impuestos de nosotros, nuestros impuestos cuentan y nosotros valemos.
Gracias. Gracias, les agradezco el tiempo. Y lo que quiero es capturar, I want to capture anyone that wants to speak to the community right here. Somos de Boyle Heights. Y porque ahorita están poniendo comentarios no muy positivos, ¿verdad? Como que no nos creen. Y son los jóvenes. Hay que pasar a ellos. Hay que hablar a los adultos que están de esa mentalidad como si fueran niños, ¿verdad? Estos niñitos aquí. Ok. Ajá. Díganles, abuelo, díganles algo. Díganles.
Quiero que pongan la antena, porque nosotros somos los farmers, no vamos a trabajar allí y nos vamos a quedar toda la noche si es posible, no van a meter las máquinas, ahí nos van a llevar con ellos.
Think about it. If you're listening right now, you really think that all these people came out here right now because it's not a big deal?
But we're talking about improvements. So it's kind of the list of improvements
Understand
that
that. We're here because we don't want them, we don't want to look at.
Oh, look at-
Okay, please, come down, join us, we're gonna fight this. We're not gonna allow them to do whatever they need. This is our community, our Boyle Heights.
Vamos a hacerle la guerra a Verizon.
Invent this technology and put it near their home, but they don't allow it. They demand distance. They send us from their home and they get it. That city of Los Altos already had 13 applications for cell towers.
What's the name of the city?
Los Altos.
Los Altos. Okay.
That's where the inventor of this technology.
The inventor.
And they, the inventors, the people who are
Okay.
working for them,
Right.
companies, and they don't allow them near their homes and near the school.
Oh.
They have laws to protect them.
Interesting.
Here that are.
Wow, interesting.
Okay, so I quickly just wanted to shed some light on this. I want everyone to really discern for themselves and honestly do the research. There's so much information out there. We have Google, we have Wikipedia, we have books that have been
Wikipedia is bad.
honestly, or whatever source of internet you have, just inform yourself so you can honestly sell yourself and don't sell yourself short. Honestly, there's people here that are fighting for you. And there's lawyers you can talk to. There's people you can talk to. They have contracts, they have permits, yes, but there's loopholes. Like all lawyers do, we can stop this. And honestly, it's just a matter of getting information, seeing what this technology and what health concerns we're raising. We just don't want it here. And it's time for us to speak up and to unite as a community and stand together and fight this.
Thank you. What? Where? No, Paul. There's more than 10 people here, bro. There's like about 50 people here, and online there's 34. I'm gonna count you because you're just not aware and you're not informed. That's okay. And you're funny. You're really funny. You're really funny. Look at all these people right here. Type whatever you want. Look at these people. You think they're not serious? You think they're not serious? You think these people are playing?
You must think we speak and we serious. So we don't accept any Torah.
It's a typical
So I don't know why these
The ones
people
that
they
don't
insist
understand.
to get in Boyle Heights Torres. So please listen to the community, listen to us. We don't want it. So please help any councilman, any people in the government. Try to help our community. Please, we don't want that to happen. Thank you.
I'm already old, okay? I haven't done my life.
God bless you.
I'm sick already. I didn't have a mental health problem because of all this pollution in our air. You guys are young. You guys are beginning to live. We're fighting for you guys. Don't disregard us because we're fighting a fight for you guys. Okay, so
Okay. Las preguntas. Las preguntas.
No dog in Boyle Heights! No dog in Boyle Heights! No dog in Boyle Heights! No dog in Boyle Heights!
Let's let them express.
Passion, passion.
No torre en Boyle Heights. 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 No torre en Boyle Heights.
No dog in Boyle Heights! No más Verizon out! 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 Verizon out!
Okay, questions.
Ganaremos esta lucha, cueste lo que cueste. Si no hay solución, habrá revolución. Si no hay solución, habrá revolución.
What about the,
Queremos verde.
que pregunten, que le pregunten a ella o algo. The important questions. Sure.
Importante, nosotros queremos que el Attorney General Becerra nota y toma acción contra este Torre. Queremos él a contestar las preguntas y los demandas de la comunidad. Yo soy Julie Levine de 5G Free California. Gracias.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you.
You guys need to support us because we're taxpayers and we don't want this. Becerra and De Leon, we want want you guys to focus on what's happening here. No
Verizon out! Verizon out! Verizon out! Verizon out! Verizon out! Verizon out!
¿Preguntas?
No, yo quiero nada más decir, yo soy del vecindario y yo no quiero que pongan esa antena. Y si ellos están listos para ponerla, nosotros estamos listos para moverla. ¿Por qué? Porque aquí si no se mueven ellos, vamos a mover a aquellos que lo contrataron. Porque tenían que haberle dicho como compradora los riesgos que corría poner esa antena. ¿Y por qué esas personas no nos dijeron a nosotros? Así
¡No, Verizon!
ellos lo ponen y nosotros lo quitamos. Vamos a defender el poder de la comunidad.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
¡El pueblo unido jamás será vencido! ¡Fuera Verizon!
Ok, y también queremos decir que cada persona que necesita abogado, nosotros vamos a conseguir un abogado. Estamos aquí para protegernos.
Ya dijeron que iban a instalar, iban a empezar los trabajos. No hay que permitirlo, hay que hacer una valla humana y una barricada para que no entren a hacer el trabajo que va a perjudicar a todas las familias que ahí viven. Y no nada más eso, ya sabemos que Exide está contaminado, todo lo que es Boyle Heights, Los Ángeles, Vernon, el Huntington Park. Entonces no vamos a permitir que se siga una campaña de muerte para ganar dinero, porque eso es lo que quieren, ganar dinero a costa del pueblo, a costa de los niños, a costa de las mujeres. Así que vamos a organizarnos, ¿sí o no?
Sí.
¡Sí!
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. ¿Se puede?
Sí.
¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede! ¡Se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede!
¡Zapata vive!
Jamás será vencido.
¡Lucha sigue!
Solamente bien rápido.
Dígame.
Los farmers nos vamos a quedar día y noche a dormir y no nos vamos a salir de allí porque no van a meter sus máquinas.
¡Eso!
¡Viva Boyle! Pero de la gente que lo defiende.
We're not coming inside. We're not.
No, he did not. The link of can you take a picture of the link so I see that's the link on which you base your evidence? Would that be downloaded file of this thing as
And so you're not going to tell me your name, you're not going to give me
I said my name. My name is Delphine Tafabek, and I'm an attorney in New York and Israel. I work with the Children's Health Defense. Children's Health Defense. A person who doesn't have oxidative stresses and should be systemic should not.
Okay.
What we're talking about here for Verizon is not X-rays, not ultraviolet, not light, not infrared. It's down in this big chunk of non-ionizing energy called radio waves. This is a chart that shows what we just talked about. 60 hertz, radio waves, goes from 1,000 feet down to a few inches. Infrared, here's light. And this is the dividing line here. The top end of ultraviolet is ionizing, causes physical change. So a lot of people miss this distinction, and it's a key distinction from basic science, that the wavelengths are so long here, the energy levels are so low, that it's not going to cause ionization. I want to make sure people understand that. I see a couple of 5G signs here. 5G is in this new millimeter wave section of the radio frequency spectrum. It's not very good for communications because it goes in a really straight line. It doesn't like to go through things that you can't see through. And so some of the carriers are deploying this for short path, short connections. I was at a Verizon site yesterday afternoon. It's a small cell, 20 feet, 25 feet up in the air. It has 5G on the millimeter wave. That's not proposed for this particular one that Verizon's talking to you about today. It's not proposed to include any of the millimeter wave 5G. It's just not great frequencies for communications. It's going to be useful for high data capacity with short line of sight paths. I want to talk quickly about the narrow antenna patterns. This site is at 41 feet. The antennas are centered at 41 feet above ground. That's like a 5-story building. So the beam of the antenna goes past houses nearby, buildings nearby. It's designed to get up above the nearby buildings and reach halfway to the next cell site that they have. So the highest level isn't necessarily below the antennas. There's 1,000 times less that goes down than goes out. Very interesting relationship, 1,000 times less down than out. And the energy is dissipating very rapidly as you move away from this. I've got another slide that I can show you, but I think we're running short on time. This is just due to the fact that well, there is the time. But this is an important concept. That's why the levels are so low in the neighboring areas of the garden. It's going to be low in the neighboring areas. It's going to be low because of the narrow patterns.
So we have run out of time that we had allocated for Verizon to present. Are we all okay with him finishing this presentation? We're going to give more time to question and answers and to Brenda. I'm hearing some yeses and some no's. Can I see raise of hands? Yes.
How about 2 more minutes?
No. Raise the hands for yes.
For Q&A.
I'm going to give more time. I'm also going to give more time to Q&A time. Yes, and I'm going to give more time to Brenda. And can I get hands raised for no?
No, this is no hands.
This is no hands. Okay. So thank you so much. We're going to move into the Q&A. If you could please stay up here because I'm pretty sure that some of the questions that they're going to ask are going to be addressed to you specifically. So we're going to go into the Q&A. That's going to be about 20 minutes. I wanted to start off with Veronica and Jose. This is not going to be part of the Q&A, but I did want to answer your question because this is an important question, right? Of like why 2 hours were not allocated. And I'm going to turn that over to Veronica and Jose for the 2 hours to answer that question, but I'm going to start the question and answers after that, okay?
So I'm Veronica Polanco, the current president of the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council. I want to say thank you to everyone for being here. It's an important conversation that needs to continue to happen. Our goal with this meeting and why we pushed for it was because we think it's important for everyone to have the same information at the same time. I think what's happening on some level is almost like the game of telephone. Someone says something or has one conversation that keeps spreading around. For example, the last meeting we had scheduled, they were saying that Verizon canceled it. That's not true. The neighborhood council canceled it because we lost the venue. And the way we have to get the locations is the city requires certain contracts to be signed by a different department, so we have to submit that application. That application gets submitted to LAUSD to review and also sign off. On average, it's a month. So what happened was they granted the first permit, and then this one we were asking to rush it. So at the general board meeting, the permits were already in place. Like they were already like in the application process. So requiring to change the time on it, even though the request was made, would have caused us not to get the actual permit. Because the school will not give us the location just because they have rules and liability to deal with. So that's the reason why it's now or not to.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start the question and answer portion. We did give out the little yellow heart. If you have a question and you don't feel comfortable asking the question yourself, if you can just raise your hand up and we'll go ahead and collect them. And I'll go ahead and have, you can read them yourself as well if you would like to read them yourself. Anybody that would like for me to collect them? No? Okay. So if we can raise your hands and then I'll go ahead and stand up, share who you are, your name, if you're a community member or with a government agency or wherever you're from, right? And then just ask your question and we'll go ahead and start that Q&A.
This question is to William. To William.
No, we'll hear you.
Oh, my name is Armando Martinez, and I'm the director of Hollenbeck Recreation Center. And I have a question based on the dangers for our community. So, what are the dangers of the transmission lines caused based on the megahertz that the tower is emitting, and the difference between a transmission line that's taking the electromagnetic energy? What's the difference, and what are the dangers to community members living 100 to 150 feet away? So it's kind of like a double question, but due to time, so the first line, the dangers to the community, and then also the difference of transmission lines versus the megahertz that the tower sends out.
Thanks for the question. As engineers, we evaluate what the exposure levels would be by calculation, and then compare that to the safety standards. Safety standards are set by the federal government. They're the same in this country as they are in Europe. The ICNIRP standard in Europe, the European Union has adopted that. The latest standard was just released in 2019. This is that standard. So it's not old science, it's new science. This is 3,500 studies of all sorts that they evaluate. And there are 1,500 here listed in this document. And it's an interesting read because it describes what all the studies show. No one study, no one anecdote is a basis for a scientific standard. You have to look at the totality of all the studies and see what emerges as a threshold of exposure levels. And that's what they've done. There's a 50-time safety factor already built in the standard. And then the maximum anywhere, for instance in the garden, is 4.7%. So it's another 20 times below that 50-time safety factor already built in. So since it complies with the standard, I make the statement that it is safe because it complies with the standard. Now let me read you three selections. This is from the new 2019 standard. Examination of radio frequency exposure literature revealed no reproducible, low-level, non-local adverse health effects. Despite 70 years of our research, low-level biological effects have not been established. There is no prevalent indication of adverse effects caused by chronic exposure to levels below those in the standard. So that's the basis on which Verizon and other carriers come into areas and provide service. They comply with that standard. That's their safe harbor that, yes, it's safe for everyone. That's what the cities have to do. It was the 1996 Telecommunications Act signed by Clinton that said there will be one standard throughout the country and nobody can complain. So that's why the city can't turn this down because it complies with the safety standards. Now, your other question had to do with the power lines. There's no compounding effect between power lines and RF. If we remember from the demonstration, the 60 hertz is way down here, the greater frequency is up here. They're just different interactions. I don't practice in the power line frequencies. I don't practice in the medical frequencies or the food irradiation. I know that's an issue that's come up. That's the gamma rays, even above X-rays. Same concept as ionizing, it kills the bacteria. But I don't practice.
You didn't answer the last question, which was, what is the megahertz coming out of the tower and the megahertz coming out of transmission lines?
Transmission lines do not megahertz, which is 1 million cycles per second. It's 60 cycles per second.
Okay, so
that's the frequency of their operation.
So 60, but a transmission line has a certain amount, and then how much does this power count?
They don't add because the body's exposure, the body's receptivity to energy from 60 hertz power line frequencies is very different, and there's no added effect. Being present to the power lines doesn't mean there's more RF. They're just different. And I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, just a follow-up question. So you can't tell me how many megahertz or radio frequency emission transmission energy is radiated from the tower?
Yes, I can. The answer is, it doesn't matter how much comes out, what matters is how much you people experience. So we do our calculations in the neighborhood, I took some measurements yesterday. We look at how tall houses are.
Hold on, we're not.
We look at how tall houses are, and so we calculate what the exposure level is in all those locations. That's the 4.7% I gave you. That's the maximum exposure level at anywhere in the garden.
Thank you.
Yes.
So you said the 4.7 was the maximum exposure. What type of dangers come on below 4.7?
100% is the standard, and there's no impact on the standard. And this is another impact below standard, so there's no impact here.
So there's no. What is the actual? Thank you. Next question. You can raise your hand. Go ahead. How do you decide? If you can stand up and say your name.
How do you decide what we are exposed to? I have some photographs of towers that you've already put up. Caution, beyond this point, radio frequency fields at this site may exceed FCC rules for human exposure. What good is a garden going to do if it's filled with radioactive food? We're not going to let our children play there. People are going to be sleeping feet away from your tower. You need to tell them the truth and quit trying to sound like you're doing us a favor. You're an engineer, maybe a doctor should be speaking to us, telling us what to expect. My daughter's only 15 years old. I don't want to find out in 10 years she has breast cancer, or in 20 years that her first child's deformed. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Quit lying to us. Quit lying to us.
Your question is.
Why are they deciding what we?
What is his certification to share this?
Yes, and how do you decide what our bodies can take?
All right, once again, my name is Jose Pelico. I'm the Vice President for the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council. We're derailing a little bit from the conversation that the purpose of this meeting was for. If you came to our meetings, this is FCC regulation. They're here to present on behalf of the garden and what's going on with the construction of the garden. I understand the passions, I understand the concerns of the 5G, but we are derailing from the conversation of the garden.
Okay, let me ask one more question then.
It's not about 5G.
The very first meeting we went
It's not
to.
about 5G.
Hold on, no, because you already asked your question and he hasn't answered that question.
That's right.
So
Okay,
let's
go for
let
it.
him answer that question. The first
A él le contestó tres preguntas, a ti que te contesten una
What
aunque
is
sea.
his certification to be able to determine that it's not dangerous, right?
Yeah, and what we can take, like you
Thank
just
you.
said.
So, thank you. I've heard a number of questions, I want to make sure I respond all. First, it's not me that's placing this tower here. It's Verizon that went through the process, chose this location, got the permit, and so forth. I'm an outside engineer, I don't choose the locations, I'm not Verizon, I don't gain anything because they build it here.
Why are you representing them?
I'm representing to you what I know as an engineer. What are the facts? And so the facts are that the studies show that's the U.S. standard, that's the foreign standard.
What about the
that's British
NTP
standard.
report of
Hortensia,
2018?
Hortensia, please.
I'd be happy to address the NTP with a separate question, because that's a very interesting
Yes, you are,
NTP.
Hortensia.
So just to be clear, I'm not telling you how much you can take. What I'm doing as an engineer is I'm representing what the standards say. And the standards are what Verizon has to follow, what the city has to follow. Those are the standards. Okay, is that helpful?
Well, I believe that you're saying what Verizon wants you to say, sir, but
You already asked the
thank
question.
you.
Okay, so, who else had a question? If you could please raise your hand, or maybe we can get a line over here, and then that way we could get it. It's helpful if we don't shout out and questions, so that we can actually get the answers to the questions that we're asking, right?
She get on the
So
line.
if we want to line up over here, that would be great. That takes more time. We're already on the clock. You can line up after asking the question, and I'm pausing it during the time that I'm speaking. Go ahead. Thank you.
Quisiera disculparme por todos los que estamos aquí. Estamos concerned about it, but that's what's going on. No queremos ser groseros con él. Solamente lo único que queremos es que nos digan la verdad, si eso nos afecta a nuestra comunidad. La gente está muy preocupada porque piensan que si se comen sus vegetables, they're going to affect in the future, or the kids. And there's a school near too. And I know it's your job. I know we're the community, and we respect that. but we want the truth about everything that's going on. That's the only thing that matters.
Hey, what was your name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. If you can ask that question in English, please.
I got the question.
My
just
name
in
is
case for
Elizabeth,
anybody.
and
Great.
we're not trying to be rude here. We just want to know the truth. We want to know what's going to be affecting our community in the future, because we're worried if we eat the vegetables or our children eat the vegetables, how it's going to affect them in the future, or how it's going to affect them currently, and the rest was in English.
Okay, thank you. I'm telling you the truth as I understand it. I work around this. I have for 30 plus years. I have a radio station at my house, higher levels at my house than you would get here. I sent my 3 children to high school with a tower right on the campus. I'm very comfortable personally and professionally telling you what I believe to be true and representing what the standard has found to be true. The question about the vegetables, I raised that because gamma rays are what's used in manufacturing and canning and for produce when they will irradiate food with these ionizing energy in order to kill the bacteria and kill insects and kill whatever's on the food. And that's not what Verizon's doing. Verizon is only operating down in the radio frequency spectrum. It's non-ionizing. Every one of these ticks is a 10 times increase in frequency. So this is way high in frequency. That's ionizing energy. That does not impact the vegetables, does not impact the people nearby.
Elizabeth, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, name and then your question.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anna. I'm a City Board constituent. My question is if there has been a environmental or health impact study done in our community. I live here. I don't want to move in. Just like it was said earlier, I don't want to find out I'm cancer 20 years from now because of all of this. And I just want to know if the City of Los Angeles or Verizon have already done a environmental and health impact study done.
Yeah, I mean, through the city of Los Angeles as the permit process, we go through numbers. One of the process that we go through as a process, application process. That the city reviews as it's going through the process. Are we checking out? Are we affecting the environment in a way, shape, or form? Like very large developments you see, right? When there are very large developments, and there's these gigantic studies to see kind of what that looks like. These sites are really exempt from those studies as we go through it because the footprint is so small in terms of what we're developing per se, right? How much land we're developing, what are we working on. So that's kind of the answer of kind of what the city looks for outside of what Jose mentioned, which is really the process that at the end of the day, the frequency and all aspects associated with it are under the FCC and the federal level, not under the city level.
So you're saying that Verizon has
You
not
already asked the
okay.
question. So just to clarify her answer, the answer is no.
That's right.
There is a process, but the city checks off as there's no additional need for them.
We asked the Casa del Mexicano why they didn't ask for one. They said
We're
they
not
did.
in that section right now. Okay, thank you.
The answer to that question was yes, because the city, because Verizon had done a study and submitted that to the city, because the city wouldn't go forward with it unless they had shown it met the federal
From what I understood,
standard.
that it was not necessary. The city said it was not
An
needed. That
EIR
my
was not
understanding.
necessary, but the study was submitted to demonstrate compliance with the federal standard for exposure.
I feel like there's a lot of those happening from our constituents.
So
to the
there
right.
are 2 different studies. The one that you're asking about was
It's the
submitted.
environmental impact report.
Also, how?
That's different. This is the RF safety report, which is also different. So as a carrier, we're subjected to state and federal regulations, right? So one of the ones you're asking for, if I'm hearing you correctly, is you're asking about the environmental impact report. And what address was answering.
Mostly for health. How is it going to affect the
For
constituents?
health and safety, we do an RF study report. That's what we're talking about.
And that is on file and approved by the city in order for the
So
city to
that we
move
have
forward with the
done,
permit.
and that is part of our submission of the city.
Which one was not done?
It's not that it's not required, an environmental impact.
But you still, but Verizon still submitted it.
We submitted the RF safety report.
But the one that's not required, you did not submit.
No, we were
Okay,
not asked.
thank you. Thank you.
Good clarity.
Muy buenos días. Mi nombre es Hortensia Hernández. Pregunto a Verizon, ¿por qué quieren poner la torre en el jardín de la casa del mexicano? Sí, esa casa es de nosotros los mexicanos. Nosotros no queremos esa torre aquí en la casa del mexicano. Soy una farmer y no voy a trabajar, no voy a plantar, no voy a hacer nada allí cuando pongan la torre. Por lo que tiene de veneno, que tira mucho veneno. Nosotros no vamos a trabajar con la torre allí.
Vamos con ella.
And this question is for Verizon. I want to ask, why are you putting the tower there? That's where the Casa Mexicana is. That's our house, the Casa Mexicana. I do not want the tower there. I'm a farmer and I do work and I do planting, but I do not plan to do any work right there. I do not want to put anything there because there's just poison there. It's poisonous. So I'm not going to do any work there. And so this question is for Verizon. Why are you putting it there?
And I appreciate the question. So let me talk about the specifics of how we ended up here back in 2015. Right, I'll talk briefly about it. So as we're developing the network, and the reasons why we develop these sites, it's because there is a need to develop a site. There's a need because at the end of the day, we're really trying to respond to a demand within the areas that we're looking at, right? The demand really affects our needs to go out and look for locations, right, in different aspects of it. We're building these sort of sites through the entire Southern California. So we're building. So we look at the specifics of what the location is, what are the demands. We're also, as you know, from the city of Los Angeles as an example, we are also regulated as to where we can build it. By the specific areas where we can develop them, there are some areas where we can't because of the municipal code says so. So when you look at areas, areas very similar to Boyle Heights, in this case, right? Residential areas. We do. So we are building these macro sites across Southern California. I'll tell you across the nation, but you don't know areas. Right? I live in Santana. So we're building these sites in Santana as well. So what I'm saying is the need drives the locations, and then we need to, within that area where we identify kind of roughly where the need is, we then look for areas where we can deploy, we can actually install them, and those are very limited. They're very limited locations where we can go. Let me give you an example. The best way to think about how a network works is think about a bucket of tennis balls. You get a bucket, you drop a bunch of tennis balls in the bucket. Okay? Each tennis ball represents one of these sites. Now think about it from that perspective. You have all these tennis balls that are touching each other, but not overlapping with each other.
So,
right?
Andres, I hate to cut you off, but we're running out of time. Can you answer the question why this specific site was chosen? That I think is the question, and I haven't heard the answer.
So this site is one of the tennis balls where it fits in right into the network and fills in a gap, a hole in the network based on capacity and coverage of the growth that's happening there.
So based on what I'm hearing you say, it's that it was chosen based on the area and what the service that can be provided to that area.
And the options available to us.
Thank you for answering that question. And I'm gonna just to let y'all know, I'm gonna push back and I'm gonna answer the question. Okay? All right. Brenda?
I just want to say that we had extend our invitation to another expert on our behalf, and I would like that expert to answer the questions as well as the expert that Bryce brought, so that everybody has more broad information, generalized information. This is a global issue, so we're concerned, and that's why we extended that invitation. So thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. So based on what I'm hearing from the community, and I want to check with both sides, right? We have about 8 minutes left. We haven't had Brenda speak. We haven't yet had, the community clearly has a lot of questions for Verizon still. I just want to check with Verizon. Are y'all okay if we extend the time a little bit more so that we can get through questions?
Yeah, we're okay.
Are y'all okay if we also have her come in and answer some of those same questions?
Can we get an introduction?
Oh, absolutely, will. Just real quick. No, you already had your time.
No, I just want to say I'm going to give my time away.
I'm sorry.
So that,
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so,
I would say let's just to be sensitive to everyone's time, that we can go up till 12:30 if that works for everyone.
so I want everybody, thank you. So I want to make sure that we're all understanding. Brenda is choosing to give her 10 minutes away, and so that we can get through the question and answers. And then Verizon is offering to stay here until 12:30. So that gives us approximately 40 minutes, about 47 minutes, for us to get through more question and answers, okay? So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. My name is Daphne Kampover. I'm an attorney in New York, in Israel, and I work for the Children Health Defense, which is Robert Kennedy Jr. Organization. I'm an expert on wireless radiation. I took a Supreme Court case in Israel to ban the use of Wi-Fi in schools and replace them with wired networks. As a result, Israel became the first country in the world to adopt limitation on the use of Wi-Fi in schools because there is evidence of harm to children from this radiation. I've been working with the Children's Health Defense for a few months, and Verizon expert here repeatedly said that they're following the FCC guidelines. The FCC guidelines are over 30 years obsolete, and as said by various government agencies, including the Department of Interior. And as a result, our organization submitted a lawsuit against the FCC on February 2nd, 2020, so a month ago, basically saying that those guidelines are obsolete, should be revised, and it's absolutely outrageous that the FCC did not revise its guidelines for 25 years, as the evidence is clear, including, most recently, our own government did a $25 million study, 19-year study, as to whether or not this radiation that Verizon people stood here and told you again and again there's no evidence it's harmful, and whether or not it can cause cancer and break the DNA like ionizing radiation. The Verizon expert here, he said constantly it's not work for Verizon, that is because Verizon is afraid of liability of what he says. But he represents Verizon, and basically he said that there's no evidence that non-ionizing radiation can break the DNA. I'm sorry that I don't have a presentation, but this is a study that was done in 1996 by Washington University professor Dr. Henry Lai, and already in 1996 he showed that non-ionizing radiation in the same frequencies and intensity we use for wireless technology, for your cell phone, for your Wi-Fi, can break the DNA. So this is control group, this is DNA breakage from ionizing radiation from X-ray, and this is DNA breakage of 2.45 gigahertz, just the one emitted by those routers. And so already in 1996 we knew that this radiation can break the DNA. The NTP study, our own government study that came up November 1st, 2018 and November 2018 confirmed the same result, that this radiation not only causes cancer, and the study showed clear evidence of cancer, not maybe. Clear evidence is the highest classification of cancer evidence. It causes cancer and it breaks the DNA. So cigarettes cause cancer, this causes cancer and breaks the DNA. So 8 minutes of Brenda.
We're waiting until the 8 minutes until we get to that point. We're in Q&A right now.
So essentially,
Thank you, I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, so I will give you an opportunity, if the community said so, and Verizon said it was okay, to answer those questions that are coming asked.
But we need to ask questions.
We need to ask questions. So let's limit it to questions. It's one question that you have 1 minute to ask your question, and then both of them, or the three of them, will answer that question. Okay, go ahead.
time.
So, you're an engineer, so I want to know if you know what is the VGCC mechanism and oxidative stress mechanism. And if you do not know, why did your company, Verizon, not bring a biomedical expert that can explain this to us? Because is it true that the NTP study shows that this breakage in the DNA happens at a young black person's age, where the reproduction of cells happens rapidly, and when that radiation enters into the cells at that rapid moment, most susceptible to the breakage and the causing of illness and disease? I want that answer today. That's my niece. She wants to be a doctor. She was at a school across the street where the school moved to the nuisance. That is what the city of LA says. A tower is a nuisance. Where she moved and was there for 3 years, this is my question. How am I supposed to tell my niece that she's gonna be okay and she can be a doctor to take care of the sick people that you are creating?
Okay. So Hortensia, come back. Okay, so there were 3 questions in there, so I just want to make sure that we're understanding your 3 questions, okay? The first question, the last one was like, how are you going to tell your niece, right? The first one was, why wasn't your expertise? We're also going to hear your expertise. I'm going to limit it to 20 seconds because we need to keep it moving. On the first question, right? Okay, so if I can have
what is the VGCC mechanism? Can you explain that? And oxidative stress mechanism?
Okay.
No, because what you're
I'm asking you what it is.
What you're asking about is one study that is in this document. One study out of thousands. I don't represent myself as being an expert on all of these studies. You mentioned the NTP study. We should talk about the NTP study. I only have 20 seconds. But we'll come up to it.
Okay, I want to answer oxidative stress. So he said there's one study out there, many thousands of studies showing the harm. So there are 100 studies showing that this radiation causes oxidative stress damage. Oxidative stress is a mechanism in the body that leads to cancer, non-cancer condition, DNA breakage. 93 out of 100 studies that were done whether or not this radiation causes oxidative stress show conclusively, yes, it's causing oxidative stress.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank
so
you.
He said one study, 93 out of 100.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, thank you. So Hortensia, one question, Hortensia, thank you. Well, hopefully somebody else can ask that same question. But it's one question.
Okay,
We'll see if we can get back to that.
Wendy, I'm gonna stop here. Okay, so once again, the reason why the neighborhood council tried to facilitate this meeting was to have a conversation around the garden design and the implementation of the new plans.
We don't care
I
about
understand.
that.
Okay, so we can go ahead.
He spoke about the health effect and the radiation.
The plan of the neighborhood council was to have a conversation regarding the garden. The neighborhood council falls under the city ordinance, and we have to follow that city ordinance, unfortunately. So, once again, we're trying to facilitate this meeting so we can have the conversation around the garden.
But he spoke about the health effects. You brought up the health effect, and now that's what people want to talk about.
Deja a las personas que hablen aquí, por favor. Se está pasando el tiempo. El tiempo está corriendo. El tiempo está corriendo.
No cancer. I just wanted to go ahead and make that clear, okay?
We're gonna go.
Raza is not for sale.
Yes.
Okay, guys,
Sorry?
you're not for sale.
What he's trying to say is we want to focus as much in the tower as well because we want to be polite and hear what they have to say about the presentation. But obviously, the concerns are the health. And so I think we have to address this. And Verizon already said they're willing to give us the time. So let's just do that and let's try and be as polite as possible and as quick as possible. This is going to move quick and this is going to be very educational for all of us because this is going on for on and on years. Thank you.
I'm here to ask Verizon and the neighborhood council, why did we end up here? There was a voting before, over 200 people voted that we didn't want this. 900. But yet, 900, but yet we're still here. You know, we need to ask the neighborhood council with all due respect to review all this. We don't want you guys here. We don't want the tower in the house, and that's my message to you guys. Thank you.
Just to clarify, the neighborhood council doesn't have any stake in this. We don't get to make a decision on this. In July of last year, we submitted a community impact statement stating that we did not want the tower to be built there. So the neighborhood council has already done what the neighborhood council can do. So I just want to clarify that, okay? Or we still here. Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes. Gracias por estar aquí. Nada más tengo un comentario breve. Yo tengo 46 años viviendo aquí en la comunidad, a 2 bloques de allí de la Casa del Mexicano. Y yo, en mi persona, no quiero que pongan eso porque yo sé que tarde o temprano tiene que afectar a nuestra comunidad, mayormente los que vivimos cerca, con la radiación. Radiación existe. El buen vendedor siempre pone su producto limpiecito, pero por dentro está sucio. Así es que, camaradas, compañeros, comunidad, en mi ver, el día de mañana nos va a dar cáncer a muchos de nosotros y a nuestra futura generación. Eso implica que sí hay problema en estas torres. Muchísimas gracias.
Good afternoon and thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I've been living here in the community for 46 years. I live a few blocks from Casa Mexicana, and I don't want this to be here because this is going to affect us with the radiation. There is radiation that exists, and this is, you know, the good seller puts things out all nice and clean, but beneath that, it's all dirty. And tomorrow, it's going to cause cancer, whether it's tomorrow or in the future.
Can I ask something about the radiation? No.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Baldomero Capriz y Exide vino y contaminó varias ciudades. Viene Verizon con su proyecto de más de 20,000 antenas, según lo que dijo el ingeniero, instaladas, 452 antenas a 2 pies a la redonda. Y aquí en Boyle Heights existen 50 torres. Entonces, ¿qué significa esto? ¿Tendrá o no efecto lo que produce la contaminación junto con lo que ya existe? Entonces, la pregunta es, ¿qué va a pasar? Pues, nos vamos a morir todos en un momento dado si se siguen construyendo este tipo de instalaciones que perjudican al ser humano.
Gracias.
Good afternoon, my name is Baldomero Capriz, and Exide came in and polluted our area. There was quite a bit of pollution from Exide, and now Verizon is saying that, you know, they have 20,000 antennas or towers, or 452 towers, 2 feet round as far as their size. And in Boyle Heights, there are 50 towers. What type of effect is this going to have? How is this going to pollute or contaminate us? With everything else together, of course we're all going to die, but following with this is polluting us and harming us.
Thank you. So the question there is, right, there's already 50 towers in Boyle Heights alone. How altogether, collectively, will it affect? And I'll give 20 seconds.
I think you also meant how towers can work together with other contaminants.
Yes.
Not just radiation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
20 seconds.
Thank you. So the evidence shows that this radiation breaks the blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier is a mechanism in our body that's supposed to prevent toxins from entering to the brain. So this radiation from the center will break your blood-brain barrier, has been breaking people's blood-brain barrier, and if there are other pollutants now getting to your body, those pollutants now can get to your brain and cause degenerative processes in your brain, Alzheimer, cognitive problems, etc., etc.
Thank you.
So, with all due respect, she's misrepresenting the studies. She's an attorney. I don't know what her scientific background is, but as an engineer, my number one obligation is to public safety, and so I follow the standards. She made the comment that the FCC standards are 30 years old. I showed you here the 2019 standard that reaffirms the findings of the FCC. So these are current standards.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next question?
Wendy, I need to add something to it.
Yes.
So, just to clarify, right, we're on our side, and just to address, again, the number of towers within the Boyle Heights area. Remember, every area has is roughly about 10 sites similar to these in the larger Boyle Heights area. It's a very large area of Boyle Heights, right? It encompasses all the other edge of it. So it's only about roughly 10 sites or so that serves it.
So I want to respond because I go double the time. So first, sir, to say that a misrepresentation, that's clear defamation as an attorney. These studies are not thousands of studies from now. These are thousands of studies for many years, and there are thousands of studies showing the harm, including blood-brain barrier damage, including, for example, a study from 2008 by oncologists, a person who do brain authorizes No, don't interrupt me, sorry.
5 seconds left, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay. Do you want me to answer the question?
Thank you, Daphne.
They want to hear the answer. You interrupt
We're trying to.
No,
we're trying
but you
to.
interrupted me. I was trying to
Daphne.
answer.
Daphne.
You tell her if you want to answer.
You already answered the question.
No, you gave them
The
double
question
the
is that the
time. You talk
answer.
more than me.
Okay, the answer is that there is a harm. You're saying there's harm, correct? That's the answer. That you're saying there is harm.
I was saying that this person said that I misrepresent the fact. They
Let's
got
not
double
focus
the
on what
time.
he's saying about you and focus on what
I want to
the bigger
explain
issue.
that it's the
I
misrepresentation.
understand that. I understand that. But your answer is that there is harm. Yes, Daphne?
I want to clarify the
There is harm.
misrepresentation.
But you're saying
Hold on.
So okay, we're gonna stop. If we cannot, vamos a parar. Vamos a parar. Ma'am, Daphne, if we cannot, señora, un momento, por favor. Hold on. Okay. If we cannot have a conversation, then we're not. Having her up here was not part of the deal. Okay, we're having her up here because that's what you wanted. But if we cannot have a conversation. Hold on. If we cannot, I live here in Boyle Heights too. Okay, I just want to make sure that I clarify that. I live here too. Okay, I am also concerned. I gave her an extra 20 seconds. So I'm trying to be fair. We're just like you're doing right now. Yeah, we're wasting time. So if we cannot have a conversation without people, when the time is up, I did it to Andres when he was giving his presentation. I stopped the young man or the gentleman when he was giving his presentation. Okay, so if you're not okay with the way I am moderating this conversation, then we're not going to get anywhere. Look at how many more people still have questions. We have to, I understand the passion. Again, I live here too. I want to have kids too. But if we don't understand, if we're not giving each other the time that we need to give each other, we're not going to move nowhere.
Que sigan las preguntas, el tiempo se está pasando.
Okay, everyone. Veronica wants to speak. Everyone, please. I know this is a very, very, very difficult issue for us to speak. But we need to give each other that time and the respect. So I really appreciate if you guys don't yell. Veronica wants to say something. She is the president. She is whoever it is. She's helping us coordinate this meeting, making this happen. So we wouldn't be able to have this if it wouldn't be
Okay,
for her.
let's do it. Continue. Thank you.
I just want to say, I think we're ready to derail. Not that it's not important, but if we wanted like a more of a debate or a panel, we could have done that. That wasn't expressed to us. So we've been trying to be very transparent and work with you because it is an important issue. I think we're forgetting the fact that one of the issues is a private property. There's a contract in place, right? So we can't pretend that's not happening. So what we're trying to do is also, Verizon's trying to accommodate the garden, and so we're trying to find
A middle ground.
not even the middle ground, but it needs to start, right? So this issue, I think, is bigger than what it was meant to be, and I think we can further this conversation and try to set up further times. But I think in the time allocated, we're limiting ourselves. Like, it's not going to be a debate back and forth because we're not getting anywhere. But I do think it's important for all the community members to be heard. So I don't know if we want to do like 2 questions at a time and then answer, see if there's any repetitive ones, because we do need to make sure everyone's heard. Like, it's not right to. We weren't aware of the expert coming in, and we've been trying to accommodate it because we think it's important, but we prepare properly for it, right? I wasn't either, and that's why I decided to give my time. Yeah, okay. Right, exactly, yeah. So I think we're all trying to figure out something else.
Next.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, yo soy la señora Fernanda Delgado que vive en la León Franco y Yucle, en la pura esquina donde están las antenas. Desde que esas antenas están, puro problema para nosotros, más enfermos. ¿Por qué quieren poner la otra tan cerca, habiendo otros espacios más retirados?
Hello, my name is Fernanda
Delgado.
Fernanda Delgado, and I live on at the corner of Euclid and Franco.
Yeah.
And there's an antenna right there at that corner, and ever since that was installed, there's been quite a few problems. There are a lot more sick people there. So why is it that you want to install this one as well? Because this is bringing about problems.
más dolores de cabeza, más mareos, porque quieren poner la otra enseguida luego y voy a quedar en medio.
Sí, muchas gracias.
Y tengo muchos niños que van creciendo ahí también.
And we have we're getting lots of headaches,
Por favor,
lots of
si la quieren
dizziness,
poner,
lots of headaches, lots of dizziness, and so this is creating problems, not only for us, for the children as well. So why do you want to install this right in the middle of there, when there's another one?
Yes, I'll talk about the location really briefly, so we can talk about community effect, if that's the case. But the location itself, as we talked about, is those antennas are somebody else's. They're another carrier's antennas, they're not Verizon antennas. So
But they're the same type of antenna.
As I mentioned, this is kind of the best
Let him talk, please.
location.
Thank you, guys. Let the man talk. Thank you.
This is the best location based on the needs as we're trying to look at all these variables to be able to make it work within the limitations of the city of LA,
Thank
available
you.
space, and within the network.
Thank you. No, hold on, we're gonna, you chose that time frame, so Daphna?
Numerous studies show that the radiation from cell towers causing headaches, sleep disturbances, heart palpitation, nausea, vertigo, etc., including in children, and we see this evidence in various studies that were done near cell towers.
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes, so that we do need to move on to the next part of it.
Yes. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left for question and answer.
All right, my name is Memo, and I have 2 questions. The first one being, what are you going to do about secondary exposure to other contaminants like lead that lie deep within the layers of soil, which are sure to pick up once construction begins? And number 2, this is more of a question about like what the working people of Boyle Heights want, and they have for sure said that they do not want this for various reasons. And while the science is there, and believe me, I understand that these towers need to be built because 5G is something that will be used in the future. Why can you not use the millions of dollars as a wealthy corporation to recreate the conditions that are needed for these towers in like wealthier areas, for example? Why is it that you must continue to victimize an already brutalized community? Why must you be part of that cycle? Thank you.
Thank you.
So, the first part of your question, thanks for asking. The first part of the question regarding the soil itself, right? We do what's called a phase 1 study. We're going to understand what's in the soil. If there's some contaminants in the soil, we go through the proper process to dispose of that soil, if there's something on the soil itself. As it relates to areas, we build in all areas. We build in all areas.
Thank you.
City of Los Alamos, which is where the telecommunication entrepreneur live, adopted one of the most restrictive ordinances in terms of cell towers, because they're the people who invented know how harmful it is, and they do have a distance from houses, from schools, etc. You should have it too.
Thank you.
Quick question. Let's just say that we're addressing the questions because
That was the question. He
Hold on.
said affluent areas. He said, why in affluent areas you do it, but you don't do it, and in poor communities you do. That's exactly what I
Mi nombre es Ana García, yo soy residente de Boyle Heights. La pregunta es para usted, porque usted habló de necesidad, porque la compañera Ortesia dijo que por qué en casa del mexicano, usted dijo que era necesario. ¿Necesario para quién? Para ustedes, no para la comunidad. La comunidad queremos áreas verdes, queremos aire puro, respiración. No preguntan en su necesidad de nosotros, preguntan en ustedes, en el capitalismo, en el dinero. Pero nosotros no somos eso. Nosotros somos humanos que necesitamos aire puro, respiración y más áreas verdes y no contaminadas.
What's your name?
I'm a resident of Boyle Heights, and I want to continue on with what Hortensia was saying. Why is it that this location was chosen next to Casa Mexicana? This is not what we're needing. What we need are green spaces, clean air to breathe. We're not talking about being capitalist like you are, because that's not who we are. What we're asking for is to have clean air to be able to breathe and not have these towers here. Thank you.
I'll talk about it specifically. The location continues to be the same. As it builds for the network, the demand of the area drives the need for us to build sites. As it relates to the balance between the ecosystems, it's right here. It's Verizon's commitment to keep the community garden intact.
5 seconds.
That's a balance of the community.
Thank you.
Levels of radiation they said low levels of radiation because the antenna is tall. The levels of radiation from this infrastructure are quintillion times higher than what your body evolved to tolerate. Quintillion is 1 and 18 zeros. It's somewhere, it will be here, like somewhere between millions and billions and trillions higher than what your body can tolerate.
5
It
seconds.
should not
Thank
be
you.
where your children are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to raise the fact that that wasn't the question.
Thank you.
That was not the answer to. Susanna Bettencourt, I help to coordinate the neighborhood watch for 10 different blocks here in Boyle Heights. I represent quite hundreds of individuals. But my concern was that I want to first thank the Boyle Heights Neighborhood Council because you have brought this to our attention. Many of us have heard of the 5G towers being put. We knew of one that the city council had stopped from being built on 4th and Breed, a block from where I live and where a lot of our active members are. We want to thank the city council for doing that, but their main reason for not having it there was because it was near a school. That was Breed Street School. And of course there's the rec center that's right across the street as well. Now, the one at Casa Mexicano, Casa del Mexicano is 0.3 miles, less than a mile. Euclid Avenue is very close to the Casa del Mexicano. So why isn't that school being considered? And it's quite a few other schools in the area, charter schools. So I don't understand why city council,
Thank you.
we don't allow city council to take this issue, very serious issue. We have an attorney telling us that this affects children.
Your minute is up. Thank you. Hold on. I just want to clarify that the neighborhood council is not the city council. Those are two
No, I
separate
know.
entities. I just want to clarify that.
I want Boyle Heights Council to
Thank
please
you.
take it to city council
We have.
before they make these decisions to do the gardens.
We have already.
Because we have not heard a response from city council.
We submitted, as I said earlier, we submitted a community impact statement. That's the extent to what the neighborhood council can do.
But city council has not responded. We would like more studies done with attorneys, with engineers, with doctors.
So that's where you call your city councilmen, your congressmen, your senators, your assembly people. That's where you call
But will
them.
they give us time to do that?
If it may.
Will they give us time to do that? Will Verizon give us time to do that?
I just want to say the antenna you referred to on 4th and Breed was not Verizon.
It was T-Mobile, I believe.
No,
but
it was Mobile Line. But the difference is that the reason why the council was able to comment on that was because it was private. It was public property. This is a private property. So what we're in the situation of this.
But it's affecting a lot of the community.
But the specific reason we're here is because it's private property. The city is limited, including the city council, in addressing this. So we're in a space where there's a permit in place. Verizon is the party putting up the tower, so that's why we're here. Like we're trying to make sure that the community is there.
Euclid and all the other schools.
Thank you. So did that answer your question in terms of what's happening with the city council, why the city council has not been able to step in? Did that answer your question?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Did it answer your question why the city council is not able to step in?
My question is, will they give us time to address it to city
That was
council?
not your original question. Your original question was why the city council is not able to step in. You have an answer to
That was
that.
answered.
Okay, yes, thank you,
You didn't
thank you,
respond to that.
thank you.
I
So
want
we
to
have
know.
1 more minute left. 1 minute left, okay? So these questions need to be questions, not comments.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Juan Hernández. Yo vivo en la calle Pedro Infante y yo soy uno de los propietarios de la calle y de la propiedad. Hemos tenido bastantes problemas con las torres que pusieron, que yo sé que no son de Verizon, pero hacen bastante ruido cuando tenemos que trabajar en la noche a las 10, 11 de la mañana, 12 de la noche, la 1, a las 2. A la hora que necesitan energía esas torres, se encienden los motores. Yo creo que estas torres que ellos quieren poner, parece que van a usar motores de diésel. Yo no sé cuánto contaminante van a tener y qué más ruido vamos a tener. Nosotros vamos a quedar en medio de las dos torres que ya están, ¿sí? Yo creo que los vecinos que están enfermos ahorita, yo he comentado con ellos y se han estado más enfermos ahora desde que les pusieron las torres ahí a la pie de su casa.
Gracias. Gracias. So if you can translate for that.
Hello, my name is Juan and I live at the corner of Pedro Infante and Euclid, and I'm an owner, a property owner right there in that area, and we have a problem with the towers because the towers create noise when we're working or when they start up at midnight or whenever the powers coming on, they start making noise, and I don't know if the tower that's going to be placed here is going to have diesel or not, if those engines or motors are going to be with diesel, and how much more pollution that's going to create, because we're in the middle of both of these towers, and I've spoken with some of my neighbors who have gotten more and more sick since the other tower was placed.
So the question is diesel and sound.
Yeah, let me answer that. I can't project, but I want to show right now. So our equipment is going to run up against the wall. Run up against the wall is where the radios are going to be, and where there are going to be fans that cool the radio. While we are meeting the city of Los Angeles decibel requirements for noise, there is going to be a generator. There's a backup emergency generator that will kick in to test it every 2 weeks for 10 minutes to make sure that if the power goes out, you have a way to still connect via a lifeline device. So we will have emergency power to be able to make sure the cell site stays up.
So I'm hearing you say that there is going to be noise. It's going to be 10 minutes every 2 weeks. That's what I'm hearing you say.
From the generator.
From the generator, but we're meeting the requirements, the noise requirements of the city of Los Angeles, we're meeting them. We have a CMU wall all the way around.
Okay, thank you. So now, Jenny, go ahead.
That's the last question?
Yes, last question, yes.
Hello, thank you. My name is Jennifer Mana. I first of all honor everybody for showing up. Your concerns are very, very important for this to not only affect us, but the future. My question is there anything we can do as concerned citizens to put a stop to this? Not a stop, but maybe a pause while we gather our thoughts, while we gather our information, while we gather the studies to fully, as a united community, because this is coming in a community to fully assess and fully go forward. I understand contracts, I understand permits, I understand private property, but as a concerned community, is there anything we can do to stop this?
Thank you, Jenny. So Verizon, the question is, the underlying question is, are you willing to stop? That's the underlying question. To put a pause, not stop, put a pause.
Sure. The site, and we'll talk about construction, the site will continue to move forward with the amendments that we want to do to leave the community garden intact and improve the garden itself.
So you're
So the
saying
answer
that
to
our
that,
voices
the
don't
answer to
matter?
that is no, there's no pause.
What they can ask, what they can do.
We're not going to do that. You can do that. You can do that after. You can do that, Daphne. Daphne, you can do that after. Do it outside. It can't be done in here. It can't be done in here, Daphne. Daphne, it can't be done in here. You can give them that legally. She can give them that information outside. And legally, she can give them that information outside.
So now anyone
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. We're gonna move forward.
So we can move forward, everyone.
La orden, por favor, gracias.
Okay, so just so that we can move forward, okay, Daphne can stay a little bit longer and she can answer more of people's questions.
Verizon is welcome to stay and answer.
Yeah, Verizon can stay. Also, I want to say, because the gentleman, the engineer, if he can give us a copy of the FCC, because he said it was the most recent one, so we were not aware of it. If
Or a link.
give us,
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
I would really
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move forward. We're gonna go ahead and move, you can do that at the end. We're gonna go ahead and move forward, and you wanna go over how Verizon is moving forward, correct?
Absolutely, thanks.
So go ahead.
Thank you.
Again, at the end, you can step outside, you can talk to Daphne, you can talk to Brenda, you can organize. We're not saying you can't organize. You can still organize. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I thought Brenda got 10 minutes.
So, let me first clarify one thing. I know there's been a lot of signs up. This is not a 5G site.
It's a 4G
No,
site, 4G
Daphne,
yes,
Daphne, we don't, Daphne, we're good. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you.
We're not deploying. Verizon uses ultra wideband millimeter wave to deploy 5G. We're not using ultra wideband at this site. We're not deploying 5G. So that's, I want to make sure that that's clear. All right, this is your standard 4G site that you've been seeing, using on your devices for years and years and years. So that's what I want to clarify that. So But I want to talk about construction, because that's the question that really comes out to, right?
We don't want you.
We started the construction of the summer.
Is this his turn?
So we could either let them talk, or we can just stop right now and we can continue outside. If you want to protest, that's okay. We're not telling you not to, but we could either hear that they're gonna talk about the construction. The question was already asked: are they willing to put a pause on it? And the answer to that was no. Okay. So as a community, we need to. They're gonna tell us how they're gonna move forward. Okay, so now they're telling us how to move forward. Again, I'm not telling you not to protest. I'm not telling you that you have to accept it. I'm just telling you they're going to share with us when it will start, which might help us to learn a little bit more. Okay?
That request was made by the council because there was a lot of, again, our goal is to have the same information at the same time in front of everyone, so there's no like side conversation because people aren't sure who to believe, right? So we're trying to say, moving forward, this is what their plan is, so we as a community can know what they've been told, right? So we're gonna go ahead and do the 10 minutes?
Yes, we're gonna do 8 minutes. Afterward, if you have questions and they're willing to stay a little bit after, Daphne already said she's willing to stay a little bit after.
I'm going to step outside because she's not important. Anyone who wants to hear answers,
Thank you.
Okay. Si quieren oír lo que va a decir el señor y pueden mantener la paciencia porque necesito capturar todo aquí, ¿entendemos? ¿Verdad que sí? Si estamos hablando y los entiendo, no van a poder oír todo el mundo la red, ¿verdad?
Pero él dijo que quiere darnos esa...
Vamos a grabar para que todo el mundo
Para
mire.
empezar el proyecto y no queremos que empiecen.
Ok, todos, por favor, yo sé que ya eso es mucha emoción. Vamos a escuchar cuándo va a comenzar el proyecto, vamos a escuchar los detalles y nos vamos a salir y vamos a poder hablar con Daphne ahí afuera. Ella nos va a dar tiempo. So, por favor, escuchemos y después nos salimos. Gracias.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and listen up. We're gonna listen to when they're gonna start, what the details they have to share are with us, and then afterwards we can step outside with Daphne so we can speak with her out there. Thank you.
All right, fair enough. So just to talk about the construction aspects of it. So we are going to start, even though we have a permit, right? Now, as I mentioned, the current permit that we have right now is to demolish the garden.
Let us finish.
We are not doing that. We are not doing that. We are going to start construction on the part of the area that is completely away from the garden. It's right here, right up against the Casa Mexicana. That's the area where we're going to start while we are amending our permit to allow the garden to stay in place. Okay, just I want to summarize it again because that's a key aspect of it. Verizon's commitment is Verizon is going to start construction on the equipment that's right adjacent to Casa Mexicana. We're not going to start any construction here until we amend and enhance the permit to allow the garden to stay. So while that's happening, as we're going through the City of Los Angeles process to amend the permit, that's the process. So we have our commitment, we have my word that we're not starting any construction here, right? And that's the part that Verizon wants to truly communicate. But we want to make sure this garden stays. I think it's definitely the right thing to do for the garden to stay.
And when is this lighting to start?
So this part of the construction.
So that I can record this and others people can hear it to make their opinion. If you guys keep being loud, let the gentleman speak. And one more thing, don't make it personal. These people have families too, like us. They're going to suffer from the radiation too. They just don't get it and they work for them. God bless them too.
So we are going to start construction over the next 2 to 3 weeks in the month of March. So we're going to start construction. So I want to make sure you're aware of it. So that's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to share on the construction?
Actually, to the one lady who wanted to have more conversation, we will talk through neighborhood council, and if there's more questions you want to address, please filter them through them, and we'll be happy to try and address them as best possible, so that, you know, whatever your separate concerns that we perhaps didn't get to answer fully, whatever they are, we'll do our best, but if you could filter them through. But ideally, what we'd like is a dialogue that's constructive, a dialogue that's productive, and a dialogue where hopefully we can find a solution together. I understand some of the things you heard here you do not want to hear, but we also are trying to serve the community. Everybody here has a cell phone, everybody here has a need. In an emergency, you're gonna need your cell phone.
No. People like this should be in jail. We're learning our children in our community, you guys should be in jail. You guys are disregarding what we want in our community. We don't want Verizon here, okay? You guys should be in jail.
Thank you for your voice. Thank you for being here.
We appreciate it in my community.
We appreciate hearing your comments, and we are willing to talk some more through neighborhood council, through your council district. So
Are you willing to reconvene with the community?
Yeah,
Okay.
Are you willing to reconvene with the community? Obviously, this is like
If we can reconvene in a proper manner through neighborhood council, through council district, however that means is, and it's a productive conversation, we will do that. However, what Andres said, we will do construction to that one area. The one area that's away from the garden, allows the garden to proceed the way it is, and then we will do what we can. We'll work through neighborhood council and council district. And so that is what we're willing to do.
Yeah, and as a neighborhood council, we would continue to work with the tech committee. So how this meeting came about is we would talk, have that conversation there, discuss the options, listen to the community, and this is where we would. Like, I think it needs to be structured differently if that's what you want, but that was never voiced to us. So I think we have to talk about it at the tech committee.
And if you want to send your questions in advance, so that we can be more prepared, and, because, you know, questions can come from all over the place, right?
I'm gonna hire an attorney, I'm gonna represent,
Yes.
sure you're
Thank you.
represented.
We'll help you, because you guys should be in jail.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Close up, Brenda has one more question.
I'm not community, not
Brenda
jail.
has one more question.
Will Verizon be willing to reconvene the meeting before they start construction at La Casa del Mexicano? Will Verizon be willing to reconvene before you guys start construction?
Let's
at La
discuss
Casa del
further.
Mexicano?
We
gotta
can discuss
talk
further.
further.
Right now, again, the message, I want to make sure that it was, as Veronica mentioned, we're very transparent with our construction schedule right now. So, again, if there are additional questions, we can talk some more about it. If there are other safety questions, we can talk some more about it. I think we can have a lot of discussions about it, but again.
I think that, Andres, I think the question was, are y'all willing to meet before construction starts?
Which is
2 to 3 weeks. It's a yes or no?
I think right now the answer will be no. You can send your questions to us, but you know, right now we answer as many questions as
Okay,
possible.
thank you. Okay, so Brenda's gonna go ahead and meet with Atma outside. Y'all can talk a little bit more about that. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Where can we send our
Thank you to the
questions
neighborhood
to?
council. Thank you to the neighborhood council for hosting us. I know